Hi, welcome to part two of creating your own API. And before we get started, I just want to make sure that our setup is taken care of and that you're familiar enough with the terminal that you'll be able to create the folder and files for this project. So first of all, if you want to check and see if Node was installed properly, you want to open up your terminal. And if you're not familiar with this, if you're on a Mac machine, you can just hit Command Spacebar, and that's going to bring up your Spotlight. And then if you type in terminal, it's going to bring up the terminal application. I'm using a slightly different version called iTerm. It's a little fancier, allows you to have tabs, but the basic Bash terminal will work. Bash is on both Mac and Linux. If you're using Windows, you're going to be looking for the Windows PowerShell. Unfortunately, I've used Windows terminals a little bit, but I'm not super familiar with how they work. Some of the commands are the same and some are different. So I'm going to try to say the full names of the commands that I'm using so that you're able to adequately Google and figure out what different commands you might need to use in order to be able to create directories and create files. So the first thing I want to do, now that I have my terminal open, I'm just going to go back to where I was. So I'm hitting change directory and then a space and then two dots. That allows me to back up out of the directory I'm in. And that brings me to my home directory, which you'll notice has a little tilde. If I ever am lost somewhere within my file structure and I need to get back to home to be able to navigate out, typing in cd tilde will also bring me right to this directory from anywhere. So now I know that I want to go to my desktop, and I know that I want to go to Code for Videos. You may be putting this directory in a slightly different spot. And so now if I type in the command ls to look around, there's nothing in here yet, which makes sense because I haven't made it yet. And so now I'm going to type in mkdir, which is make directory, and I'm going to create a folder for this project. I'm going to call it API demo. Feel free to call it what you want, but if you really benefit from following closely and want to be able to type exactly what I'm typing, API demo might be a great name for you to choose too. So now I've created it, and if I type ls again to look at what's in Code for Videos, API demo shows up. I'm going to cd into it, and now I'm inside my project folder. At this point, we want to open this project up inside of our code editor. And so if you have Atom, you can type in Atom and then space and then dot, and that's going to open it up there. If you have VS Code, just type in the word code and then the dot, and that says open up all of the files and folders inside of this directory. So I'm doing that. So you'll see that API demo shows up here on the left. There's absolutely nothing in it yet, so there's not much we can do, but now we can start building. One last thing before we go ahead and start creating the files and folders is that I just want to make sure that Node is working on your machine. So if you just type the command node into your terminal and hit enter, it should open up a Node REPL. And a REPL is basically just an environment that you can play around with Node in. This doesn't save anything to your computer. It's just literally a playground where you can create variables and you have access to basic JavaScript. So let's just make sure that works. So if you typed in Node and you got an error right away before even being able to get to this point, it means that Node is not correctly installed and you need to go back and install it. So now, just to show you that this works, let's do let num equals 5. And then if I type in num, it is equal to 5. Now, in order to get out of the Node REPL, just hit Control-C, and then Control-C again will bring you back to exactly where you were. And if your screen is ever getting too cluttered, you can just type C and then Enter, and it'll clear it. Actually, I realize that's an alias that I have set up. So I think you have to type in clear and then enter, and then it'll clear it. It's been so long. All right, so I'm going to stop this video here, and in the next video, we're going to start to set up the folders and files for our project, and then we're going to go a little bit into how to use your code editor.